very good evening and welcome back. Well, it's been a bit of an early sunset as far as Delhi is concerned. As you can see behind me, I'm not sure if it's very visible at this stage. I would request my camera person to quickly just pan. There is a very evident layer of smog. We're again reiterating to our viewers, trying to show them as much as possible that this is a problem which has reached in what Beijing would perhaps call this an apocalypse. Some very severe conditions here as far as the national capital is concerned. Let's come back now and let's discuss the big issue at hand. That's of course crop burning, accounting for as much as nearly 30% of the PM 2.5 particles that we are now being subjected to. Let's quickly, we're running short of time. We'll quickly go through all of our panelists. Akshay Marathe, coming to you first. A number of concerns have been raised. Crop burning, of course, is an issue which is very systemic in nature. We've adopted a carrot and stick approach. There are penalties in place. There are various regulations in place. There's a 2015 NGT order as well. We've given carrots as well in terms of perhaps to incentivize how the use of stubble can in fact benefit the farmers themselves. Not working at this stage. Clearly not working. At this point, what are the solutions that perhaps we can address that are required at this stage for the state governments to implement?
Haryana has actually tried to levy several fines on farmers, but I think that's a really cruel solution. It's not the right way to go about it, because it's really not the farmers' fault. This is the only way available for them to get rid of the stubble. What we really need to do is look at what are the solutions available to farmers to take care of that stubble in time for the next crop to be sowed. And for that, I think that both governments, Punjab and Haryana, should devise a policy that can give the farmers the right kind of subsidy to take the right steps to take care of the stubble. And this is really not about punishing the farmer for this. It's not about blaming the farmer for this. They are already in trouble as it is the last several years. It's not about blaming air pollution in Delhi on the farmers, but it's about ensuring that they have another economic alternative to the crop burning, and that's the only way to go forward. It's not, I don't think the right way to do this is to penalize farmers for this. It's really not their fault. It's for the governments to work out a solution for the farmers, and I think the only way forward is to provide a subsidy for the farmers to take care of the stubble.
So subsidy and an injection of funds from the centre. That's the takeaway coming in from Akshay Marathe. Mr. Gopal, if I may come to you, but just before coming to you, highlighting for our viewers what this effectively means. Crop burning, of course, often gets dismissed in the barrage of news, but it's important to appreciate that this is the season that farmers are reaping their rice, their paddy crops, and at the same time, after reaping those crops, they have only about 15 to 20 days to sow their wheat crops. So that's just a 15-day, 20-day period, and huge labor costs in terms of employing people for removing the stubble. That's the big concern that farmers have. So taking that forward, Mr. Gopal, coming to you, an injection of funds basically to subsidize this collection effort is what is being suggested by the Aam Aadmi Party. There are a few recommendations that you made as well in the break time. What can be done at this stage to address this anomaly here?
Well, immediately at this urgent stage, like I said earlier, just like California does, because state by state, if you go to the California Air Board's website, you'll find exactly the 17 headings under which open burning is permitted, of which crop burning is one, and they consult with their Met department to know which are the days on which burning can happen, when the winds won't burn towards urban centers and affect the air in a big way. But apart from that, I think the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, the MNREGA, ensures that the rural individuals, landless people, etc., who get employed, a certain amount is given to them every day. They could be employed because they're just available as labor to ensure that the stubble is uprooted. Ms. Shiva is right. It's because you've mechanized all these farms that because they chop it, that the stubble is left. The stubble needs to be uprooted from the ground, and that you need people for which the central government needs to step in. The other option, and this is happening in many farms in Punjab, not everybody is burning, lots of people are actually uprooting the stubble out and employing their own laborers for that purpose and using that as fodder, because the stubble can be used either for fodder or for manure. So there is purpose to this, but the only thing is you need labor there, and you need to transport the stubble once it's come out to other centers which can actually utilize the stubble.
Indeed, those are the two pain points here, the labor cost as well as the transportation cost. We're nearly out of time. Polash, coming to you for one final comment about perhaps the measures that are needed at this stage, and not only in terms of crop burning, but you and I as citizens of Delhi, perhaps measures that we can undertake that would help in some marginal way in terms of addressing the issue.
I think very quickly, crop burning, the main issue is monetization of the stubble. If you create an economic value for it, the farmer will see the point of not burning it and using it for some other purposes. There are alternate uses of it. A power plant can use it as fuel to generate electricity. It can be used as a raw material in certain industries like cardboard and paper manufacturing. But there needs to be, the government needs to set up a decentralized or semi-centralized collection and warehousing mechanism, because that's the challenge. Because you have a huge supply available for 15 days in a year, and the rest of the year there's no supply. Coming to stubble burning. Coming to long-term solutions for stubble burning, if you look at the situation 20 years ago, 30 years ago, pre-Green Revolution, Punjab simply wasn't a state where rice was cultivated. And look at the consequences of that, because the consequences of rice being cultivated for 30 years. Intensive rice cultivation has meant that today the groundwater levels in Punjab has gone below the 300 feet mark, which means in a state like Punjab, you have to dig for 300 feet to get water. So crop diversification is definitely something that should be looked at in the long term. Coming back to what people can do in Delhi, very quickly, it is more than just awareness creation. People also play a very important role in pointing out the violators. We know that our enforcement mechanism is very lax in most parts of India, especially in Delhi. As a citizen, as a responsible citizen, as a part of a society, it is your responsibility to point out wherever you see laws not being followed, or wherever you see dust lying on the road, or you see construction activities not being followed up, and follow it up with the right authorities. This is it's a very important part of creating making air pollution part of the political agenda in our country.
Right, Polash. We're completely out of time by now, but we really appreciate all the inputs coming in from all of our panelists about measures that can be adopted and are perhaps urgently required. There is no tomorrow now. That's the sense of urgency that is essentially required. A whole host of solutions are available, but that push from both the state governments and the centre is perhaps what's lacking to take this initiative and to take this fight against air pollution home. With that, that's all we have time for. I would like to thank our panelists, Mr. Akshay Marathe, Mr. Gopal Sankaranarayanan, as well as Polash Mukherjee for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us. That's all we have time for. Slipping into a very short break now, but news and updates continue. Keep watching CNBC TV18.